So we're going to go ahead and plug in some angles and find the points that go with those angles and then plot points. So let's start at 0. What's the cosine of 0? 1. And 1 times 2 is 2. This is where having your chart memorized is very nice. Okay, what's the cosine of 30? Yes, square root of 3 over 2. Do you remember what the decimal was for that? Like 0.86 or something? You could throw it in your calculator and get a decimal. Or we could just skip this one in particular. Anyone? You guys want to help me on your calculator with these? So 30 degrees would be 0.86, but then what do we have to do with the 2?
Are you putting the 30 in the rate, the R? It's supposed to be flipped. She just realized it yet.
Thank you. We're plugging in thetas and we're getting R's. How messy is that? Theta R. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Okay, so we're plugging in an angle of 30. We get 0.86 and we multiply that by 2.
1.7.
Thank you. Okay, then 45 degrees is like 0.71. Multiply that by 2. Like 1.4, right? Do you see where I'm getting these numbers from your calculator, right? But I'm getting the answer for the cosine of the angle and then multiplying it by 2. Okay, 60 would be 1/2 times 2 is, yep. Okay, how about 90? Cosine of 90 is 0, and 0 times 2 is 0. Okay, before I start throwing in more points, let's look at what we've got so far. So we want to graph the angle 0 and the point 2. Angle 30, point 1.7. This is where those polar graphs I gave you are really going to come in handy. I should be using one of them. Radius 40, or angle 45, radius 1.4. Angle 60, radius 1. And angle 90, radius 0. Well, that's interesting. It doesn't matter. I would assume 1 might be done there because I'm trying to get a circle out of this. So using the graph paper would have been better because I kind of messed up because of that. Right? So far I have half of the circle and I've only been around a quarter of the angles I could use. Does that mean that when a circle is graphed, it's actually graphed twice? I think that's what ends up happening. Okay, cosine is positive in the first quadrant, so that means it'll be negative in the second quadrant. So I think we need the negative half of this circle. Would that happen by doing second quadrant? Let's see if it does or not. Okay, so the next angle past 90 would be 120. And that's a 60-degree reference angle, so it would be a -1. So let's just, for the heck of it, check and see if that graphs it where we want it to graph. So 120 is an angle here, but where does -1 graph? Ah, this direction. I think that's maybe going to help me get my circle. Okay, next one I could do 135, which should be a -1.4. 150, which should be a -1.7. And then 180, which should be a -2. Is that right? Okay, so 135 is over here, and then we graph the point backwards. 150 is over here, and we graph the point backwards. 180 is over here, and we graph the point backwards. I think we got the other half of our circle. And we didn't even need to go between 180 and 360 to do it. So I'm pretty sure if you extend the numbers you're plugging in clear to 360, you would end up graphing the circle twice. Not that it matters because it would be in exactly the same place. Okay, try one more. Let's try R equals 3 sine 2 theta. Now that's weird. You guys want to try that one on your own and see what you come up with? Then we'll look at it together.